Thank you, and thanks for the organizers for this opportunity to share with you how I see the current moment. My work on the history of technological revolutions, as Toby told you, tells me that we might be facing a once-in-a-half-century opportunity to get the best out of capitalism. Why can I say this? Well, because we are at the confluence of three critical junctures: the post-pandemic reconstruction, the climate change emergency, and the need to shape the digital revolution. I'm going to begin with the last one, which is perhaps the least understood. Every technological revolution has begun with a turbulent period of creative destruction. On the one end, we see the loss of jobs, skills, and industries, and the decline of whole regions. And on the other, the flourishing of new industries, new millionaires, new prosperous regions, and major financial booms. The resulting bubbles inevitably collapse and reveal the victims of the transformation. So the mixture of resentment, violence, desperate migrations, xenophobia, and populism has been there at every turn. In the 1930s, fascism and communism were the extreme forms gathering support. Yet at the same time, the new technologies are there with great promises for a better future. But they have no direction. This time, innovators and entrepreneurs are experimenting chaotically, from iPhone apps, games, CRISPR, to space travel and metaverses. The very wide space of the possible has been identified and explored by the market, but only government with a social consensus can give it a common direction and generate synergies for a healthy growth process with a social contract fit for tomorrow. Historically, such directions have meant setting up a win-win game between business and successively broader layers of society. That's how we have moved from the satanic mills of the Industrial Revolution to blue-collar workers today in the advanced countries owning a suburban home with a car at the door while their children go to college. The result of providing directionality are the better times of capitalism. Such are the Victorian boom, the Belle Epoque, the post-war golden age. And we are precisely at the historical moment when we must unleash the golden age of the information society. But we don't decide the direction by taking a rabbit out of a hat. We look at the technological potential, at the trends it has already initiated, and at the major challenges ahead. And that is where the other two critical moments I just mentioned play a crucial role. This time, the climate emergency and the experience of a global pandemic have taught us lessons that serve to guide and shape the golden age that we could have ahead. What did the pandemic teach us? We all learned that the essential role of essential workers, all those low-wage people in insecure working conditions that make our life easy and possible. We all recognized the importance of a solid safety net for personal and collective emergencies. We understood that globalization cannot be about cost reduction only, but about weaving a complex network of production, keeping in mind a strategic view of safety of supply. We realized the importance of collective health for healthy economic growth. And most importantly, we relearned the importance of the state as an active participant in the economy. Even business had to depend on government to support, as we well know. The climate emergency, too, has been teaching us lessons recently. The floods and the fires, the hurricanes and the heat waves, the melting of the ice cap. We're already seeing the devastation that could be caused, and the losses that could be incurred. And the pandemic showed us what it's like to confront a global catastrophe. Of course, the vested interest of the old fossil fuel dependent world will ferociously fight the transition. But the majorities are realizing that the future is at great risk and that we must make it green. So, what direction should government provide to unleashing the golden age of the information revolution? I'd say digital, green, fair, and global growth. I guess digital, green, and fair are obvious in what they mean and why we should aim there. But some might wonder why global, and others may question growth. It has indeed become fashionable in some left-wing circles and among the young to blame growth for both inequality and climate change. Well, we can begin by noting that the most radical reduction in inequality in history occurred in the most sustained period of growth. The post-war golden age lifted blue-collar workers to middle income and to what was seen as the middle class. As the late Chris Freeman said when a similar questioning emerged in the 1970s, it is not the rhythm of growth that is at fault, but the nature of growth, as well as the distribution of its fruits. So we need green technology, masses of green technology, to change everything: energy, materials, food, entertainment, mobility, construction, and so on. And that implies massive investment in research and even bigger amounts of investment in innovation and in renovation. That means the financial world must be brought on board. Wishful thinking and good intentions won't get us there. Obviously, the policy roadmap must favor job creation up front, because we must replace the jobs that have already been lost to technology and globalization, and those that will be lost to the green transition. It should also favor lifestyle changes. But it should be clear that the shift in our way of life does not have to be a sacrifice. In fact, it should not be a sacrifice, but a new aspiration. The notion of the good life has changed a lot throughout history. Actually, it has made a leap with every technological revolution. Golden ages are about new lifestyles. The new life now should be about the end of the couch potato sitting in front of the TV eating a ready-made meal. The world of information, education, creativity, health, exercise, good nutrition, experiences, networking, reconstruction of communities, and so on. It's already emerging, especially among the young, and defining the new good life. But why global? Of course, everybody agrees that the whole world should be lifted out of poverty for humanitarian reasons. Everybody can talk the talk, but not everybody is willing to walk the walk. The lifting requires funding, and that's where the obstacle is. But perhaps that could be overcome for selfish reasons. I suggest that helping the global South to develop has become an economic necessity for the advanced countries. The process of global respecialization has made it clear that massive consumer goods are and will be produced in Asia. They are not coming back to the advanced world except with robots. But how about capital goods and high-tech services? If every country were developing, there would be an enormous market for equipment, engineering, projects, education, energy and transport infrastructure, and other such products and services. All those are areas where the advanced world, and particularly the European Union, has significant capacity. They would require redesigning to make them green equipment, and also adapted to climatic and other specific conditions. They would be a huge source of employment in the advanced countries, and they would also radically, drastically reduce migrations. If migrants could find jobs in their own country, I assure you, they wouldn't be risking drowning in the Mediterranean. So if we can agree on growth that is digital, green, fair, and global, how do we go about setting that direction? It's all about redesigning the policy framework. Every technological revolution has been followed a few decades later by an institutional revolution, or better still, by a socio-institutional revolution, because it involves quite a deep cultural change too. And how is that done? Well, the first step is to recognize that there is a major mismatch between the structure and functioning of government and the new technologies. Every department, every procedure is likely to be obsolete. Just as the big corporations had to rethink and reorganize themselves, so do governments. The many-layered pyramid with its separate compartments and bureaucratic procedures was created for the mass production revolution. It worked fantastically well in the post-war period. It is now obsolete, heavy, and obstructive. Other elements of the current organization are a consequence of the ideology of the past few decades, insisting on unfettered markets and small government. Too much external consultancy, too many dysfunctional public-private partnerships, and worst of all, too little effort in strengthening public sector capabilities. So what do we need to do? Believe it or not, copy the big corporations, flatten the pyramids, interconnect the silos, empower personnel, adopt agile procedures to achieve objectives and projects, do it in teams, develop new ways of consensus building within government and with the appropriate sections of the public. Use digital technologies in truly modern ways, not just to computerize the bureaucratic methods, which we often do. Imagine setting up universal basic income with artificial intelligence. Everybody has a bank number, receives the money automatically in a debit card. Income tax is increased by the amount of basic income, so that when people earn enough, they start paying it back. So only the poor keep it all. No more hunger, no more stigma, a reduction of crime, and no more bureaucracy humiliating people. I do admit that it's not obvious that it would work for the whole EU, but it's a good example of the way to think. So what is this very modern government organization going to do? Well, if we take the digital, green, fair, and global growth direction seriously, there are at least 5 major tasks to accomplish. 1, make it profitable to innovate and invest in green technologies, more profitable than to keep the obsolete mass production tradition. That's the digital green part. So how do you do that? Well, the obvious tools are taxes, subsidies, regulations affecting the decisions on innovation and investment. We could even consider flipping VAT from taxing salaries and profits, which is what they do now, to taxing transport, energy, and materials. That would shift the emphasis from tangible products to services, which is what we want, to dematerialize. And we need regulation to make durable goods truly durable. I mean 100 years, not 5, not 10, not 15. And being able to update, together with maintenance, of course, 3D printing of spare parts, disassembly, and recycling. Fabrication jobs can remain in Asia, but maintenance and green jobs would grow in Europe and everywhere. 2, reconnect finance with production. Stop the casino. Favor long-term investment. Again, maybe with very high taxes on short-term gains, 90%, if made in one day, declining to 1% after 10 or 15 years. And obviously that also means ending the tax haven system and all the loopholes for tax avoidance. That will need courage, and much imagination. In post-conditionality for QE, don't just give the money, don't just buy the things, even for just functioning. Conditions for involving the funding of SMEs and of big projects, no share buybacks, a limit on what percentage can go to real estate, enormous amounts are going to real estate now, and so on. Again, it will take courage and imagination. 3, redesign the social contract into a modern welfare state for the digital age. That would be the fair growth part. But not just compensating for what the market doesn't do, but legislating towards stakeholder capitalism with a decent share of wealth going to workers as wages and salaries before the state steps in to compensate. Aim for pre-distribution. 4, turn Europe into the world's most advanced green model of growth, both in production and consumption. This is super important. Create a broad consensus for that goal. Then invest and innovate boldly to develop and cater to a new European way of life that is sustainable and serves as model for the world. Neither US nor China will do it. Europe can. Set up missions, as Mariana Mazzucato proposes, to make the big leaps in solving the major challenges. It's great that the Next Generation EU program is already going in that direction. We've got to go deeper and deeper, further and further. 5, design and set up a global way of funding green investment in the global South. Perhaps a sort of Marshall Plan based on an international institution to be funded by a financial transactions tax, which can be charged on any transfer, say over 10,000. It will receive bids to invest in green projects in the global South in a transparent manner, which would be available for all to see on the web from start to finish, so we'll reduce corruption to an absolute minimum or nothing. We need to put our imagination to work with boldness and courage. We have a major transformation ahead, and the prize is the sustainable global golden age of the information era. I'm sure all of you have fantastic ideas. Let's make them happen. Thank you.